The man once known for tearing off shirts, flexing biceps, and electrifying arenas with his signature brother growl, now walks with a quiet, almost painful dignity. Hulk Hogan, born Terry Bollea, was once the face of American wrestling, a larger-than-life hero who embodied strength, confidence, and charisma. But time has not been kind to the wrestling legend. Behind the sunglasses and occasional fan smiles lies a man worn down by surgeries, scandals, and personal loss. His golden years are far from the glory he once basked in. What remains is a man confronting age, reflection, and regret. Hogan's life today is not one of spotlight and stardom, but of solitude, struggle, and the haunting weight of what was lost. The financial fallout. When fortune turns. For decades, Terry Gene Bollea, famously known as Hulk Hogan, basked in the glow of wrestling stardom. His booming career brought him adoration from millions of fans worldwide, lucrative endorsement deals, and a lifestyle many could only dream of. From sold-out arenas to primetime television appearances, Hogan's image was synonymous with success and larger-than-life charisma. Yet behind the flashing lights and roaring crowds, his personal life was quietly unraveling, and his finances were heading toward a perilous turning point. The pivotal moment came with his messy divorce from Linda Hogan after more than 2 decades of marriage. What had once been a seemingly rock-solid partnership crumbled under the weight of personal grievances and public drama. The divorce settlement hit Hogan hard. Linda walked away with the lion's share of their shared wealth, including millions in cash, a luxurious Bel Air mansion, and a significant stake in his business ventures. For Hogan, losing such vast assets wasn't just about money. It was a profound emotional blow that shook the foundation of his life. Suddenly, the wrestling icon faced a stark new reality. The financial empire he had built was diminished, and rebuilding would require resilience and reinvention. The once untouchable Hulkamania was now tested by the harsh realities of fortune lost. The divorce that shattered the empire. Hogan's marriage to Linda Hogan, née Claridge, was once considered a rock-solid partnership. They met in 1981, a time when Hogan's career was beginning to take off. Linda, a model and actress, brought a sense of grace and glamour to their relationship. They married in 1983 in what was hailed as a grand union of 2 rising stars. Together, they seemed to embody the American dream, a powerful couple thriving under the spotlight. As Hulkamania swept the nation, their family life appeared perfect. Their 2 children, Brooke and Nick, grew up in the glow of their parents' fame. The Hogan family even starred in a reality TV show, Hogan Knows Best, which aired from 2005 to 2007. The show was a peek into their lives, Hulk as the overprotective yet loving father, Linda as the supportive mother, and the kids navigating the chaos of adolescence. But the glossy image was deceiving. Hulk's grueling schedule left little time for family, and cracks in their marriage grew wider with every passing year. Linda felt increasingly neglected, and the couple's once unbreakable bond began to crumble under the strain of career demands, media scrutiny, and personal tensions. The divorce settlement, a financial earthquake. The financial consequences of the Hogan divorce were staggering. Once estimated to be worth tens of millions, Hogan's fortune was dramatically slashed by the legal battle and settlement terms. Out of roughly $10.4 million held in joint accounts, Linda Hogan walked away with approximately $7.4 million, an overwhelming majority. Hulk was left with less than $3 million, a fraction of the wealth he had painstakingly built over decades. It was not just the cash that was divided. Linda also gained ownership of their opulent mansion in Bel Air, Florida, a home that symbolized their shared success and dreams. Losing the Bel Air mansion was an emotional blow for Hogan, who had long viewed it as a sanctuary from his hectic public life. The divorce also included a property settlement worth an additional $3 million, 40% ownership of Hogan's business ventures, and a fleet of luxury vehicles that had once epitomized his success. These losses stripped Hogan not only of his wealth but of the lifestyle he had crafted for himself and his family. Despite the upheaval, the court did not require Hogan to pay alimony or share his future earnings from appearances, which offered some reprieve. but the damage was done. The media capitalized on every detail of their split, turning the dissolution of their marriage into a public spectacle rife with accusations and bitterness. The media circus, public feuding, and private pain. As the divorce became tabloid fodder, both Hulk and Linda Hogan found themselves unwilling actors in a drama played out on the world stage. Hulk accused Linda of exploiting their troubles for attention, while Linda fired back with claims that included accusations of infidelity and even a shocking allegation of a homosexual affair. The most sensational claim came when Linda accused Hulk of having an affair with their daughter Brooke's best friend, Christiane Plant. Plant herself addressed the rumors publicly, while Hogan remained silent on the matter. This deeply personal and public airing of grievances shattered any remaining privacy for the family. Brooke and Nick Hogan also found their lives entangled in the fallout. Brooke's attempts to build a music career were overshadowed by media scrutiny, and Nick's legal troubles added further complexity to the family saga. The Hogans were no longer just wrestling royalty. They were a family under siege. The sex tape scandal, a private nightmare, exploded into public. Perhaps the darkest and most humiliating chapter in Hulk Hogan's personal life came crashing down in 2012 with the leak of a private sex tape. The tape showed Hogan in an intimate encounter with Heather Clem, the wife of his close friend and radio personality Todd, Bubba the Love Sponge, Clem. This shocking betrayal cut deep, not only because of the content of the tape, but because it involved someone Hogan trusted implicitly. What made the situation even more devastating was the manner in which the tape was recorded. Bubba had installed surveillance cameras throughout his home, supposedly for security reasons, but these cameras secretly captured Hogan's private moments without his knowledge or consent. When the tape surfaced publicly, Hogan was blindsided and felt utterly violated. The media frenzy that followed was relentless, with every headline focused on dissecting the scandal from every angle. For Hogan, the release wasn't just a breach of privacy. It was a full-scale public humiliation that impacted his personal relationships and professional reputation. The betrayal by a close friend, the invasion of his privacy, and the global exposure of his most intimate moments turned his life upside down. It marked a painful turning point, forcing Hogan to fight back both legally and personally against a scandal that threatened to define him. A betrayal among friends. When trust is shattered. Hulk. Hogan's world was rocked not just by the scandal itself, but by the painful betrayal at its heart. The sex tape that shook his life featured him in an intimate moment with Heather Clem, the wife of Todd, Bubba the Love Sponge. Clem, a longtime friend and confidant. Hogan and Bubba were more than acquaintances. Their friendship was well documented and visible. Hogan was a frequent guest on Bubba's radio show, and they often appeared publicly together, projecting an image of mutual trust and camaraderie. To fans and insiders alike, their bond seemed solid, built on years of shared experiences and personal loyalty. Heather Clem, meanwhile, was a complex figure in this circle. A former model with a flair for controversy, she carved out her own niche as a provocative radio personality. She was often in the mix with Hogan and Bubba, but what the public did not know was that behind the scenes, her relationship with Hogan was far more complicated. The intimate nature revealed by the leaked tape was a bombshell, a secret chapter of Hogan's life that many had never suspected. The revelation of this hidden relationship stunned fans and friends alike. It wasn't just the fact of the tape, but the tangled emotions surrounding it. The trust broken not just between Hogan and Heather, but more painfully, between Hogan and Bubba. For Hogan, this wasn't merely a personal scandal. It was a profound betrayal by someone he had trusted implicitly. The shocking breach of trust. A privacy. Violated. What transformed the scandal from personal heartbreak into a public nightmare was the manner in which the tape was recorded and ultimately released. Bubba Clem had installed surveillance cameras throughout his home, ostensibly for security purposes. However, these cameras had been capturing private moments without the knowledge or consent of those filmed, including Hogan's most intimate encounters. In court, Hogan would later testify that he had no idea he was being recorded. The realization that his privacy had been so egregiously violated was devastating. The public release of the tape meant that Hogan's most private moments were now the subject of tabloid headlines, talk shows, and internet gossip. The humiliation was unparalleled, affecting every facet of his personal and professional life. The trial itself turned into a media spectacle. The courtroom was filled with tension as jurors were shown the tape, a stark and uncomfortable display of the betrayal. The ordeal forced Hogan to relive the trauma on a public stage, exposing the painful details of a betrayal that cut far deeper than mere infidelity. Bubba Clem eventually admitted to orchestrating the recording, confirming that the cameras were installed with knowledge of their purpose. This admission shattered the last remnants of their friendship and intensified the public's fascination with the case. What began as a private tragedy turned into a cautionary tale about trust, privacy, and the consequences of betrayal. The legal battle, fighting back and seeking justice. In response to the invasion of privacy and the emotional devastation caused by the tape's release, Hogan launched a fierce legal battle against Gawker Media, the online outlet that published the video. The lawsuit sought $100 million in damages, charging that Gawker had willfully violated his privacy by distributing the tape without consent, and that their actions had caused him severe emotional distress. The trial became one of the most high-profile legal battles of the decade, drawing widespread media attention. Hogan's attorneys argued that while he was a public figure, his private sexual encounters were not legitimate newsworthy content, and publishing the tape was a blatant violation of his rights. Meanwhile, Gawker defended itself by citing freedom of the press and arguing that Hogan's celebrity status made the tape a matter of public interest. The case sparked a larger conversation about the limits of privacy in the digital age, where personal moments can be captured and disseminated instantaneously, often without regard for consent. A dramatic twist emerged when billionaire Peter Thiel, who harbored a personal grudge against Gawker for outing him as gay years earlier, secretly funded Hogan's lawsuit. Thiel's involvement brought fresh eyes and resources to the case, turning it into a David versus Goliath battle between a media giant and an individual fighting for his privacy. After weeks of testimony, the jury sided with Hogan, awarding him $115 million in damages, a staggering sum that sent shockwaves through the media industry. Gawker was forced into bankruptcy, marking a rare legal victory for privacy rights advocates. Rebuilding from ruins, the road ahead. The years following these seismic personal and professional blows have been some of the toughest in Hogan's life. Sponsors distanced themselves, partners grew wary, and fans grappled with a more complicated image of the man they once adored. The arenas that once roared his name now held an uncertain future for the wrestling legend. Yet, beneath the weight of public judgment and personal setbacks, Hogan has shown remarkable resilience. He has continued to appear in wrestling events and entertainment projects, working tirelessly to restore his reputation and financial footing. The road has been difficult, filled with reflection, hard decisions, and efforts to rebuild trust with his audience. Hogan's journey is a reminder that even the most iconic figures are vulnerable to life's unpredictable storms. His story is one of triumphs and failures, trust and betrayal, loss and determination. While the headlines often focus on scandal, beneath it all is a human story of someone fighting to rise again, a complex legacy still very much in progress. The scandal explodes across media channels. From the moment Gawker posted the video, news outlets, websites, and social media platforms erupted with coverage. The headlines screamed with disbelief, scandal, and controversy. Every detail of the tape was dissected and debated across talk shows, news programs, and online forums. Hulk Hogan, once revered as a wrestling hero, found himself engulfed in a relentless media frenzy. The public reaction was sharply divided. Some sympathized with Hogan, seeing him as a victim of a gross violation of privacy. They argued that regardless of the tape's content, Hogan had a right to keep his personal life confidential. Others, however, were less forgiving, criticizing him for the betrayal of trust involved and questioning his private conduct. As the story dominated headlines, Hogan's personal life was laid bare. Paparazzi followed his every move, snapping photos of his reactions and any public appearances. Media scrutiny reached an unprecedented level, peeling back the curtains on a man whose career was built on larger-than-life persona but whose private moments were now public property. Fighting back, the legal battle against Gawker Media. When the private sex tape scandal exploded in 2012, it wasn't just a personal betrayal or a fleeting tabloid headline for Hulk Hogan. It was a full-scale assault on his dignity, privacy, and legacy. For decades, Hogan had built his public image as a larger-than-life wrestling icon, beloved by millions worldwide. Suddenly, that image was tarnished by one devastating leak that spread like wildfire across the internet and media outlets, exposing the most intimate moments of his life to public scrutiny. Recognizing the potential lifelong damage, Hogan realized that silence was not an option. He swiftly moved to defend himself and protect what was left of his reputation. As the media frenzy swirled around him, he gathered a strong legal team, prepared to take on Gawker Media, the online platform that had boldly published the sex tape without his consent. The lawsuit, reclaiming privacy and dignity. In 2015, Hogan filed a landmark lawsuit against Gawker Media, seeking $100 million in damages. This wasn't just a monetary claim. It was a battle for his personal dignity and privacy. The lawsuit alleged a blatant invasion of privacy by Gawker, accusing them of broadcasting explicit footage without Hogan's permission, which caused him significant emotional distress and irreparable damage to his career and personal life. For Hogan, this was deeply personal. No longer content to be a silent victim, he stepped into the public eye as the face of the lawsuit. His media appearances were raw and candid. On talk shows and in interviews, Hogan opened up about the shame and humiliation he endured. He spoke not just as a wrestling legend, but as a man stripped of his right to private life, betrayed by those he once trusted, and humiliated on the world stage. This lawsuit was about far more than money. It was Hogan's attempt to reclaim his privacy in a digital era where personal boundaries are often disregarded, and to send a message that no one, celebrity or not, should have their most intimate moments exploited for profit and sensationalism. Gawker's defense: a battle over privacy and free speech. Gawker Media did not take Hogan's lawsuit lightly. From their perspective, the publication was protected under the First Amendment, which guarantees freedom of speech and freedom of the press. They argued that Hogan, as a public figure, was subject to public scrutiny, and that the publication of the tape was newsworthy and therefore legitimate journalistic activity. In defending their decision to publish the tape, Gawker positioned themselves as champions of free speech, arguing that the private lives of celebrities often intersect with public interest. They contended that their reporting fell squarely within the rights of the press to expose stories that the public wanted to know, and that Hogan's status as a celebrity meant his actions, even private ones, were fair game. This defense sparked a larger debate about the limits of privacy in an age where digital media can disseminate private information instantaneously and with unprecedented reach. It raised tough questions about where to draw the line between public interest and personal privacy, and whether the media sometimes exploits that gray area to sensationalize stories at the expense of individuals' dignity. The billionaire's secret role. Peter Thiel's involvement. What turned this legal battle into one of the most sensational and complex cases of the decade was the behind-the-scenes involvement of billionaire Peter Thiel. Thiel, co-founder of PayPal and an early investor in Facebook, had a long-standing vendetta against Gawker Media. In 2007, Gawker had published a story outing Thiel as gay, a revelation he had not publicly shared. Feeling deeply wronged and betrayed by the media outlet, Thiel quietly plotted a form of revenge. When Hogan's lawsuit against Gawker began, Thiel saw an opportunity and began secretly funding Hogan's legal fight, pouring millions of dollars into the case. Thiel's involvement added a new layer of intrigue and controversy, turning a battle over privacy rights into a larger conflict about power, influence, and the consequences of media recklessness. While Hogan was the public face of the lawsuit, Thiel's financial backing gave the legal team resources and leverage that few could match. The trial and verdict. A landmark decision. The trial itself gripped the nation. For 2 intense weeks, the courtroom became a stage where privacy, free speech, and justice were fiercely debated. Hogan's legal team meticulously presented evidence that the tape was recorded without Hogan's knowledge or consent. They painted a vivid picture of a man whose life and dignity had been irreparably damaged by the publication of the video. Hogan's emotional testimony struck a chord with the jury. He spoke candidly about the humiliation he endured, how the scandal shattered his personal relationships, affected his career, and plunged him into a dark emotional place. The man who once roared in packed arenas now faced the silent judgment of a public eager to tear him down. On March 18, 2016, the jury delivered a stunning verdict in Hogan's favor. They awarded him $115 million in compensatory damages for the invasion of privacy, and an additional $25 million in punitive damages intended to punish Gawker for its reckless behavior. This $140 million judgment was one of the largest of its kind and sent shockwaves through the media industry. The verdict forced Gawker to declare bankruptcy and ultimately led to the shutdown of the once powerful media outlet. The case became a landmark moment in privacy law, demonstrating that even the powerful media can be held accountable for violating individuals' rights. From courtroom to Hollywood, the story's next chapter. Fast forward to 2024, and the Hulk Hogan sex tape saga has taken a new turn, this time in Hollywood. Renowned actors and filmmakers Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, celebrated for their creative partnership and tackling provocative stories, have announced plans to bring this sensational tale to the big screen. Affleck and Damon's interest signals the enduring cultural significance of the scandal. Their film aims to explore the complex web of legal battles, personal betrayals, and media frenzy that surrounded Hogan's story. Known for their nuanced storytelling, the duo intends to capture not only the scandal itself, but also the broader themes of privacy, power, and redemption that resonate deeply in the digital age. However, Hogan himself has been vocal about protecting his image. He has warned the filmmakers that any negative or distorted portrayal could lead to further legal challenges. This tension between Hogan's desire to control his narrative and the filmmaker's creative freedom sets the stage for another dramatic chapter in this ongoing saga. We truly appreciate your support. Subscribe and be part of our journey.